six components of defense works in Italy, Croatia, and Montenegro, spanning more than 1,000 kilometers between the Lombard region of Italy and the eastern Adrian coast. The fortification throughout the Stato the area for protect the Republic of Venice from other European power to north, west, and south of the statue. The mar protect the sea routes and ports in the Adriatic Sea to the Levant. They were necessary to support the expansion and authority of the Serenissima. The introduction of gunpowder led to significant shifts in military techniques and architecture that are reflected in the design of so-called Alia Moderna, bastions, fortifications, which were to expand throughout Europe. They built the Bergamo fortifications and Fort St. Nicholas, showing that additions of more complex and centralized system of bastions, walls, and moats. The defense of Sadar, Pistyra, Garda, Palmanova.
Understanding of the history of is supported by extensive archival materials including documents, architectural drawings and maps, and wooden models the phenomenon of a modern military. Architecture is anticipated, studied, and number of the components have been studied in exemplary detail, such as the studies of the fortification at Cator and Bergamo. Have the strategic location of the components ICOMOS considers that it is not surprising that many changes have occurred to most of them, including themes through different periods of conflict from the Napoleonic, Austrian, and Ottoman periods and the conflicts of the 20th century. Impacts are also observed from overzealous conservation projects which have removed evidence of other layers of history. As discussed above, ICOMOS considers that because of various past reiteration and intrusive development, the authenticity of the individual components of the series is variable. Hyper Arsenal and Wharf Croatian. Through various transformations, there are two remaining authentic elements associated with the proposed outsetting universal value of this property, such as the decor of the two facades of the arsenal and the cobblestone surface of the walls. Fort Made Earth Navy, Montenegro. Studies and conservation work are commencing to address the challenging impacts on the authentic of this component caused by conversion of the casemate into a nightclub misdosed, and an open-air cinema on its terrace with a permanently illuminates screens that can be seen to main vantage points.
Symbolism. The state's parts have identified three chronological periods that span the period from the 15th to the 17th century. From the 15th century, the Venetian Republic was divided into states, the Stato da Terra and the Stato da Mar. The consolidation of the Stato da Terra and the Stato da Mar was achieved through a series of wars and power shifts that the Somerset in the nomination deserved. The first of the historical period described by States Parts was a phase of transition from other defensive wars to the alla moderna at the end of the 15th century, demonstrated by the selection forcing through the Kuruma and Kotor. The second was a phase of experimentation in the 16th century and the spirit of technological more and military structures, demonstrated by selection forcing through of Bergamo and Ulkling. The defensive system, the Howard, and the front of Nicola. During the century, military planning and architecture become well organized and more scientific. New elements were introduced based on walls and moats, and well internal geometries. By the end of the 16th century, the defense network was in place, supported by highly centralized organization. The threat was a phase of consolidation and completion in the 7th century, demonstrated by selected forfeit cities of Sadr and Peschiera del Guarda and the city forces of Palmanova. Belonging. Understand of the history of the nominated components is supported by expressive archival material, including documents, architecture, drawing and maps, and wooden models. The phenomenon of Almodovar metallurgy architecture is intensively studied, and a number of the components have been studied in example detail, giving the starting location of the components. It can consider that it not surprising that many changes have occurred the most often, including damage through different periods of conflict from the Napoleonic strike also period conflicts of the 12th century. Impacts are also observed from other serious conservation projects, which have removed evidence of other layers of history. As discussed above, e-commerce consider that because of various past restaurants and industry developed the authenticity of individual components of the series in this variable.